Welcome to the free audio rendering of Not Without Scars 2. Such an insightful and impactful work must be accessible to the countless number of people living similar life experiences. Becoming a best-selling author pales in comparison to creating a tool capable of instilling hope in a multitude of people trapped in the valley of decision. My greatest profit comes in helping others emerge victorious over their life struggles. My goal is to encourage individuals to follow their dream. My message: you must never quit on your faith, pursuing your aspiration or vision. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Take a moment, invite your family, friends and acquaintances, and enemies to listen to this work chapter by chapter. It is free to listen as well as free to subscribe. Peace, love, and phenomenal blessing.
How do I write my life story? I know hurt and pain. I don't like either one, whether physical or emotional. Herein contains my story, Not Without Scars Part 2. Optimism, perseverance, persistence, resilience. 2 decades of personal struggle. Optimism. I faced the new millennium with hopefulness. Perseverance. My ego, my humble beginnings, my desire to achieve never allow me to turn away from a difficult task. Persistence. Opposition should be anticipated as an effective strategy to victory surfaces. Resilience. Difficulties do not automatically spell termination. Scars reveal my imperfection as reminders of past episodes of pain, sorrow, or triumph. Scars can tell beautiful story endings or relay misery that wishes to remain anonymous. This work is meant to help others who have experienced decades of struggle. When struggles appear to never end, you must get through the night and face the challenge of a new dawn with fresh hope.
Not Without Scars. Chapter 27. Introduction. Departed North Carolina at age 16, I headed for New York. From 1966 through 1979, I spent most of my time meandering up and down the East Coast of the United States. When not in a jail or prison, I was on the road from the Northeast corridor to the South Shores of Florida. My names changed as often as I crossed state lines. Even then, what people may have aligned with whatever city or town I found myself a reason to stay. Billy D, Slim Gator, Thomas Randolph, Carack McVen, the Bronx Star, Billy Hill, MC, and some others were used, but have now vanished with their infamous history or temporary usage. After returning home from Cleveland, Ohio, the rural South experiment lasted about a year. I found myself back in a nomadic mind state after 5 decades. The line of travel veered from the Midwest to the West Coast of Florida, with some familiar stops between the two most extreme distances. The activities and themes for travel were different, but I found myself in a familiar road, speeding past highway mileage markers. I have almost found long drives to be therapeutic. I would work through the details of an idea or initiative flowing through my head. At the next place of refuge, I will pull out my laptop, my headquarters, and input data as succinctly as possible. Other times, I would make use of the occasional break from the road and speak fresh deliberation to my smartphone, my staff. I enjoyed meeting new people. Ideas and thoughts can become stagnant if you're only discussing life and issues with the same voices. Conversing with unfamiliar faces have taught me to listen more attentively because I could not anticipate what the next expression might reveal. It became imperative to look engagingly into the eyes of a new face as my ears often attentively to the rhythmic sound emerging from an unaccustomed voice pattern. Small towns or major metropolitan areas each held a special magnetism. I found that I never spoke to a city, but only to an individual. Just as no matter how vast the office space or expensive the decor of the furnishing, I never shook hands with a custom made desk, only the individual who sat behind the desk. So I had no fear of arriving in fresh territory. I would only address people, starting with one individual. Thus, I was prepared to learn and share with each new individual I interacted with. 5 decades later, at 70 years old, I had become the self proclaimed greatest pawpaw in the world. If you do not believe me, ask Emily. On the road, I could still see the need for my mission and vision more clearly than ever. It became more of an intense concentration as I traveled from region to region. I had to remain true to who I was. The divine calling, gift, and vision implanted in me were not optional for me to pursue. There was a woe pronounced against me if I failed to pursue my divine destiny. I had no fear of being on the road again 5 decades since heading up the East Coast to New York from Farmville, North Carolina. Historical. The greatness of a man is not in how much wealth he acquires, but in his integrity and his ability to affect those around him positively. Bob Marley. Some things you have to remember. I had experienced some degree of wealth. Many times I had lost what finances had come my way. Gambling consumed the first real money I acquired. Partying and carelessness tossed away the second opportunity. Trusting the wrong people, leading to imprisonment, cost me the most. What I had in terms of material wealth was never what people, friends or foes, spoke of initially upon mentioning my name. My character and demeanor would usually rise to the forefront of the dialogue. Integrity and loyalty were sure to be associated with what others had experienced with me. I had hailed from the old school doctrine of my word is my bond. What I promised, I would deliver. Depending on what era or the circumstance aligned with such a promise, that could be good or bad. The fact of the matter, if you were privileged to spend any length of time with me, you learned quickly of my value of loyalty. My integrity arose from a commitment to perform what I had undertaken. Another identifying quality assigned to me was my ability to affect those around me in a positive way. If an individual stayed in my presence for any consistent period of time, they would begin to think bigger thoughts. Their plans would be elevated. If this process was not reciprocal, either I separated myself or the individual would excuse himself or herself. Being on the road frequently, I had learned to recall names and events, my own and others. The association of a name with a specific event meant a lot to people I saw infrequently. It revealed they meant something to me and I to them. Even if the same event was repeated multiple times, the bond grew stronger with each reiteration of the occurrence. It is not always the big things that impact your life or stay in your memory banks the longest. Most likely, it will be the smallest gesture that unveils the grandiose impact. That worked for me as the giver as well as the individual recipient of the act. No matter where I travel and with how many people I converse and exchange greetings, I search each moment for that tangible or intangible something worthy of remembrance. Social Black experience. You don't make progress by standing on the sidelines, whimpering and complaining. You make progress by implementing ideas. Shirley Chisholm. Put me in the game, coach. So often people who are not being oppressed feel the oppressed people making demands for change should be more patient. The oppressor always wants things to move more slowly, which translates to the oppressed as a request to continue to retain all control and power. Internal changes in the system, which affects the lives of Black people, have never come without the application of external force. Black people learn that deliberate and speed are not synonymous. Dollars hurled outside the Black community toward an organization that is designated as a representative of the Black community do not bring about internal and institutional change. Appeasement for the moment may work as a tactic to slow or minimize the application of external pressure for a complete overhaul of symmetrical acts of oppression. I have identified the pre-planned balanced position and policy by ruling authority to crush, burden, or weigh down the less fortunate and less powerful as symmetrical acts of oppression. The control of the narrative surrounding any event or condition will most likely dictate the outcome of what people perceive as the course or direction to follow. This is what I have labeled as societal fed. These are ideas passed on to people by institutionalized practices. A formidable opponent will surely employ the tactic that will repress potential. This tactic will curb or subdue the capabilities of or the possibilities of other human beings. These subtle approaches take forms more sophisticated than blatant racist tactics. This type of approach is so well disguised until the elite of the oppressed will join in to help further this agenda. I vocalize this approach as a stasis degree, stagnation, stopping the normal flow by a step or intensity. I refuse to stand on the sideline and watch from the sideline with whatever number of years that I have remaining on this planet. As I have movement capability and the mental capacity to function, I will continuously make known ideas and concepts that will move the Black community forward toward all entirety of quality life for all. I will forever scream loudly, put me in the game, coach. I will play to the maximum of my ability and gainfully assist all others who view victory as the ultimate goal, a goal of interdependent, peaceful society. Theological. Behold, former things have come to pass, and new things I now declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. Isaiah 42:9, Amplified Bible, Classic Edition. Having to recall the rules. The current movement sweeping across the United States of America and other parts of the world for justice is a replication of the late 1950s and 1960s on steroids. This is an opportunity too precious to let slip away. It has taken 50 years, 5 decades, for such a spiritual awakening to hit the planet. This is time to continue with the external pressure and not allow the internal rhetoric to diffuse the opportunity to capitalize on systemic change and the overhaul of bureaucratic, institutionalized injustice. New things have been declared. The opportunity to secure new pathways have opened. These have come forth with suddenness. However, the suddenness has taken 50 years in the incubator. New leadership must not overlook or discount those who had a first-hand engagement and living epistle knowledge of the right and wrong doors to walk through. Sentimentality does not always convert to a desire for real and significant change. The time has long passed for feel-good days. I have the utmost respect for unified gathering as a display of camaraderie for a just cause. However, large gathering with exciting theme hosted by elected officials or designated leaders that lack substance or useless at best. Such events serve to camouflage the effort of the people as well as shift the narrative away from the demands and concerns of the people and the advancement of the people. These feel-good days do nothing to foster impacting change or integrating actions or an embodiment of challenging thoughts. In fact, exclusionary practices occur more often than not when the people set themselves on a course of action that demands systemic change. Exclusionary practices are the deliberate action designed to omit specific individuals or groups. I have chosen the path where divine initiative have the fluidity. Divine initiative produce action that exemplify forward movement which defies reason or logic. These actions go beyond the explanation of human intellect to accomplish outcomes to elevate the quality of life for the people, Black people, and all oppressed people. I have embraced my divine assignment. There's no other way to explain my road warrior status 50 years later. My path has me focused on a task and mission, not of my choosing, but my divine destiny.